Okay, so a couple of videos back, we had this comment from Drew asking us to do a best value in every round of your fantasy football drafts. Now, I don't know how familiar y'all are with this channel, but I can't do that. I'm sorry. I like diving deep in. I think if I go through and do a surface level analysis of 18 rounds of drafts in one singular video, while it may be fun, maybe it gets a lot of views, in reality, I don't think it's going to help nearly as much as me picking out specific guys and really diving into their pros, cons, why I like them, and what I think their range of outcomes is. So instead, I'm going to be breaking this down to my favorite running back values in the early rounds, my favorite running back values in the mid rounds, in the late rounds, same thing at wide receiver. So we can go through and we can adequately dive into depth with these players for y'all. And at the same time, we can answer this question. But before we get into it, please go down there, drop a like on this video, subscribe to the channel if you play fantasy football and somehow, some way you're not already subscribed. But let's go ahead. Let's dive into our first running back, my most owned running back from last year's fantasy football drafts. Let's go over to Mr. Joe Mixon, a running back that, yes, definitely, you are having to pay a premium compared to where we were able to draft him last year. Remember, last year, for the love of God, you had people coming out trying to convince you that Joe Mixon was injury prone. Now, that was laughable. We debunked it. I mean, if we go back and look at people talking about Joe Mixon being injury prone, it's hilarious to look at that he missed 2 games his first season, 2 games his second year, 0 games his third season. So he had 1 season missing more than 2 games back in 2020, a lost season where he could have came back, but the Cincinnati Bengals said, you know what? We're about to get the first overall pick. Should we bring back Joe Mixon and risk further injury? No, let's shut him down for the season. Let's do the smart thing. He plays 16 games this past year as well. Joe Mixon, he's not injury prone, okay? I think we could just move past that. I think nobody's really trying to argue that this season. And what I'm looking at with Joe Mixon is a running back that is now going at the top half of the second round. I am looking at Joe Mixon with an ADP of 13.5 over there on Underdog Fantasy, going directly before CD Lamb, going directly before DeAndre Swift. Like, DeAndre Swift and Joe Mixon are pretty much back-to-back selections in these drafts. Now, y'all know I love Swift last year as well, but this year, oh my gosh, Joe Mixon is the pick here. Joe Mixon, if we go ahead and look at the workload that he has had over the past 3 seasons, oh my gosh, he is a prototypical bell cow level running back. Over the past 3 years, he has averaged almost 75% of the carries in this backfield on a per game basis for the Cincinnati Bengals. He has averaged almost 10% of this team's target share over the past 3 years for the Cincinnati Bengals. And this surprised me because we all remember the playoff stretch last season. We all remember the Super Bowl. Every single person watching this video obviously watched the Super Bowl, but not every single person, including myself, watched every single Cincinnati Bengals regular season game. Now here with Joe Mixon in that Super Bowl, in that playoff run, you were having Samaje Perine come onto the field for third downs. You weren't having Joe Mixon as that top level passing down running back, even though we've seen it in the past, even though at Oklahoma, that's exactly what he was. It's hilarious. So damn funny to go back to OU. Joe Mixon, Samaje Perine were both in the 2017 NFL draft class. And if y'all remember about those running backs coming out of Oklahoma, Joe Mixon was the passing down running back at Oklahoma, and Samaje Perine was the first and second down bruiser. So now, of course, you're getting Joe Mixon with the narrative that he is a first and second down running back here. But to see that he has had 10% of his team's target share over the past 3 seasons debunks this myth. Yes, he's not going to be Christian McCaffrey. He's not going to be Alvin Kamara. He's not going to be DeAndre Swift. He's not getting up to a 15% team target share, but he is still used as a receiving option in this offense. He was the running back 7 last year on a points per game basis. Now you're adding in La'el Collins, Alex Kappa, Ted Karras. They even go get Hayden Hurst. They ship out CJ Uzomah. CJ Uzomah, obviously a receiving option, bringing in Hayden Hurst, the more prototypical blocking tight end, indicating, hell, this team knows Joe Burrow took the most sacks in the NFL last year. They need to beef up this offensive line, and they did a better job than any other NFL team this offseason in making those improvements. So if you're looking at Joe Mixon as the running back 7, last year, and now you're getting a massively improved offensive line, still in his prime. The man's 25 years old currently. I think you're only drafting him for upside. I don't really see what the risk is. And I know people are going to say, well, Mason, what is this hidden upside? How does Joe Mixon have a better season overall this upcoming year besides the offensive line improvements, which we've already discussed? And there's one thing that could completely unlock this Cincinnati Bengals offense, in my opinion. Now, we talked about this before, specifically with guys like T. Higgins, Jamar Chase, Tyler Boyd, but it will help Joe Mixon as well. So with these offensive line improvements, we could see the coaching staff in Cincinnati go, you know what? Yeah, last year, we needed to protect Joe Burrow. He was obviously getting hit play in, play out. So what they did is they really slowed the pace of play. Heading over to RotoViz right now and setting this to game neutral scripts, which is the game is within 7 points on either side, and we're not including the 2-minute drill. Okay, and if we're looking at this, you have the Cincinnati Bengals with 30.2 seconds per play. That was bottom 5 in the NFL with their pace of play, not getting off many plays at all in this offense. And I think this may have been due to the offensive line. I think they had to protect Joe Burrow. And if we look at what teams do when they have elite level offenses, what they do when they have that elite quarterback, they push the pace of play. They get the volume and jack it through the roof. Look at the top 3 teams this past season in adjusted pace of play in game neutral environments. The Dallas Cowboys, who led the NFL in points scored, the Los Angeles Chargers with Justin Herbert, Tom Brady, and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and 4th, you have Josh Allen and the Buffalo Bills. So if we get the pace of play picked up by the Cincinnati Bengals team, they have more plays overall, a more efficient running attack overall with the upgraded offensive line, and you're telling me we can draft Joe Mixon in the 2nd round? Hit that button. Draft Joe Mixon everywhere you can. Now let's head over, talk about a running back that wasn't like Joe Mixon. Joe Mixon I was drafting everywhere last year. But this is my first time in a long time drafting Mr. Nick Chubb. Here with Nick Chubb, you're finally getting a discount on him. I mean, with Nick Chubb, you're having to draft him at the back half of round 1 last season. Whereas now on Underdog Fantasy, which is where you should be drafting, we have the beautiful sign behind us. If you haven't signed up for Underdog Fantasy to get in some real money fantasy football drafts with us yet, fix your damn life. Have some fun. Go to the link in the description. Go to the link in the comment section. Go sign up for Underdog Fantasy. And when you use promo code FLOCK, they will match your first deposit dollar for dollar up to $100. So you're getting paid to play fantasy football. They will also get you our 2022 rankings, our dynasty rankings, our dynasty rookie rankings, our dynasty rookie draft guide. Most importantly, you can have some fun getting into some drafts with us in the live stream. Go draft in the public lobby, whatever you want to do. But what I've been doing there is I've been drafting Nick Chubb in the middle of the 3rd round and throwing my hands in the air, going, yes, I get it. He's in a committee. I've been going through and talking about why you shouldn't draft Nick Chubb with the opportunity cost that he had associated with him over the past 2 years, over and over and over again. But now it's a completely different equation. Now the price point actually makes sense in that you're looking at Nick Chubb compared to wide receivers in the range of Keenan Allen, Mike Williams. And I know everybody now understands it's trendy to say, oh, Nick Chubb's in a committee. And Nick Chubb doesn't really have upside. Kareem Hunt's there, which I was saying that last year when he was going in round 1. But what I was also saying last year is Nick Chubb is the most talented committee running back in the entire NFL. That hasn't changed. And also, the role for Nick Chubb has not changed in this offense either. If you're looking at Nick Chubb, yes, he fell from being the running back 7 on a per game basis in 2020 to the running back 11 on a per game basis in 2021. And this was primarily due to his touchdown rate in this offense. If you look at Nick Chubb, this was a running back that fell from scoring about, this is brutal, 1 touchdown a game to about 0.75. And that was the fall that we saw with his points per game almost directly, because Nick Chubb averaged more total yards per game just by 1, but it was almost the exact same. If you look at his carry percentage in this backfield in 2020, he averaged 51% of this team's carries on a per game basis. That jumped up to 57% in 2021. Now, Kareem Hunt did miss time, but still, it would have been in the same ballpark regardless. And we can look at the same thing with his usage as a receiver, where it went from 4.79% target share in this team's backfield in 2020 up to 5.82% in 2021. So on paper, it looks like Nick Chubb has increased his role in Cleveland. Now, that really hasn't happened because, like I said, Kareem Hunt did miss some time in 2021. But what the point is his role hasn't changed. The only thing that has changed about Nick Chubb is the opportunity cost to grab him. Last year, you're having to take Nick Chubb over top level wide receivers at the back half of round 1. This year, come on, you're having to take him over Mike Williams. You're having to take him over Keenan Allen, two guys that I hate to say it, I really haven't been drafting on Underdog Fantasy at all this year. And it's because I can't stop getting me some Nick Chubb at the beginning of the third. Now, our next running back barely makes the qualifications to be an early round player. We're cutting it off at the top 4 rounds. We're going to say that's the early round running back group. And here he's going at the 4 or 5 turns. Sometimes you can actually get him in the middle round. Sometimes he's falling to round 5. This is going to be one of my favorite rookies, actually my favorite rookie, Breece Hall. Here with Breece Hall, he checks every single box we look at. Now, I understand if you've been following our Dynasty channel all offseason, you're tired of hearing about Breece Hall. I mean, I went through in the second we had the NFL Combine, I looked at Breece Hall and said, okay, this is a generational level prospect. This is a running back that obviously was dominant at Iowa State. He goes through and he has 279 carries in 12 games his true sophomore season at Iowa State. He has 36 receptions this past year there, indicating that, hell, we know he can catch passes. He had an 11.7% team college target share. We usually look for about 8.5% to determine if that player can be a pass catcher at the next level. Hell, he checks that box. With Breece Hall as well, he gets the draft capital. He was selected at pick 36 overall by the New York Jets. This is a running back that declared early, and he was an elite level athlete at an adequate size with that adequate build. I mean, we already saw him in college handle that 3-down workload, but we still need to see those running backs, even if they handle a 3-down workload in college, come into the combine and show us some size. That way we can translate that workload over with bigger and stronger defenders in the NFL. He has a BMI of 30.3, ran a 4.39 40-yard dash. He checks every single box. And if we go ahead and we look at Breece Hall in our running back prospect model, now we developed this for Dynasty Fantasy Football, so our redraft process here is going to be a little bit different, but still, we can just look at the bucket of guys that he is attached to. He scores a 25 in our running back prospect model. We only really see top-level running backs around this score. You have a score of 24 for both Dalvin Cook and DeAndre Swift. You have a score of 25 for Cam Akers, Antonio Gibson. Antonio Gibson's a little iffy because he was a wide receiver. Obviously, very hard to put him in our running back model. Rashad Penny. And with Rashad Penny, I understand he's the bust on this list. Yes, he is the bust. But hell, I said this when he was a rookie. I said this when he was a second-year player. I said it in 2020. I said it in 2021. Now, I'm not in love with Rashad Penny this year because his price is a lot higher. But with Rashad Penny, it has never been the lack of talent. He is an extremely talented running back. It has only been the lack of ability to stay healthy. Penny would have worked out if it wasn't for his health. Let's move on. We don't need to talk about that. That's for another video. Let's go over to running back with a score of 26. Todd Gurley, Jonathan Taylor, Ezekiel Elliott, Joe Mixon, Christian McCaffrey. That's the level of prospect that Breece Hall is. That's the level of prospect that I think we should be comparing him to year one. Now, there are a couple concerns. Michael Carter Jr. will have a role at the beginning of the season. Michael Carter Jr. was an excellent pass catcher in college. He was a great pass catcher in year one. I think Michael Carter Jr. will be a pass catcher for this New York Jets offense at the beginning of this season. So if you're drafting with your buddies, if you're drafting in a regular 12-team league where you can make trades during the season, hell, Breece Hall may start a little bit slow. You may have the opportunity to potentially buy low on Breece Hall by the time we get to week 5, week 6, week 7, if initially he has to split that backfield with Michael Carter Jr. But if you're drafting at the end of June, which everybody watching this video is, I'd imagine you're drafting over there on Underdog Fantasy right now, those best ball leagues where I've already had almost 300. And in those best ball leagues, we know that, hell, You can't make trades during the season. There's a reason I can draft 300 of those teams. And that's why I really like Breece Hall, because I think Breece Hall is going to have his production at the back half of 2022. I think Breece Hall will eventually take over as that 3-down running back over Michael Carter Jr. I still think Michael Carter Jr. is a fine running back at his price tag now that it's lowered a ton. Maybe he's on one of these videos soon, because he will transition to be a primary handcuff running back in the second half of the season. And the other concern that we have with Breece Hall is I think Zach Wilson's a very bad quarterback. I want to be on record. I know a lot of people are going to tell me, oh, Mason, you clown. I mean, Zach Wilson was not much worse than Trevor Lawrence, if not better than Lawrence his rookie season. I don't think Lawrence is going to be good either. I think historically, if you look at those rookie quarterbacks and how bad Zach Wilson, Justin Fields, and Trevor Lawrence were year one, yes, occasionally, once in a blue moon, you can find Josh Allen, but also occasionally you can go to your local gas station, buy a scratch-off ticket, and you can win the lottery. Now, is that a good bet? Should you be doing that? No. Okay. I still want to stand by the fact that I think Zach Wilson is a bad quarterback overall, even though I love what this Jets team did this offseason. Now, that's going to worry me more for the wide receivers, like Elijah Moore, like Garrett Wilson, because we saw from James Robinson in 2020 that a running back that just handles an immense amount of volume can overcome the lack of efficiency in his offense just based off that volume, where a wide receiver may not necessarily be able to. Now let's go over to the thumbnail of this video. Let's go over to one of the most exciting, in my opinion, maybe the most talented running back in the NFL. Let's go to Saquon Barkley. Now with Saquon Barkley, yes, this past year, he was bad, okay? I don't want to make any diversions. I want to come out right away and just say Saquon Barkley was a bad running back in 2021. Saquon Barkley came out and he averaged only 50% of the carries in this backfield on a per game basis. Those were games he played in. He only averaged about 12.5% of his team's target share in games he played in as well. His total yards per game, 65. Those are marks that nowhere close to what we have come to expect from Saquon Barkley. With Barkley, he was splitting the backfield at the back half of 2021 in the worst offense in the NFL. You couldn't start him in fantasy. He was the running back 31 on a per game basis. Now, what I also do want to say is I want to say that Saquon Barkley came into the year not fully healthy. Now, I was still drafting Saquon Barkley last season like an idiot. I should have stopped myself, but it's hard to overlook the talent that he is, because you're looking at a running back that his rookie season had quite possibly one of the best rookie running back seasons of all time. We know that he was the best rookie running back prospect of all time, very similar to Kyle Pitts at tight end. That was Saquon Barkley at running back, and he came in as a rookie. And please go to the live chat if you're watching this as a premiere right now and guess how many total yards from scrimmage Saquon Barkley had as a rookie. Because if you're a rookie and you have 1,000 yards from scrimmage, you have 1,100 yards from scrimmage, you have 1,200 yards from scrimmage, we are pumping our fist, so excited for you to take over the NFL. Saquon Barkley had over 2,000 yards from scrimmage as a rookie. That is what we are looking at. Saquon Barkley had 121 targets, 91 receptions as a rookie. There are reports coming out of camp that Saquon Barkley is lining up all across the football field. Now, very similar to Christian McCaffrey, you are definitely taking a player that has a higher risk for injury compared to other options in this range. But does that mean you should not draft that player? Does that mean we should not draft Christian McCaffrey? Does that mean we should not draft Saquon Barkley? Well, it's all about the opportunity cost. It's all about the floor and the ceiling. We've seen that ceiling from Saquon Barkley in one of the worst offenses in the NFL. Now, if the new coaching staff comes over, is able to finally unlock Daniel Jones and make this a creative offense overall, possibly move Saquon Barkley across the line of scrimmage like he's been doing so far during camp, I think there is that upside. And we look at the opportunity cost for these two running backs and Christian McCaffrey and Saquon Barkley. Not too long ago, these players were going back to back at pick 1 and pick 2 in fantasy drafts. The overall fantasy football community is still willing to go out of their way, draft Christian McCaffrey above all else. On Underdog Fantasy right now, Christian McCaffrey is the third player off the board, only going behind Jonathan Taylor and Cooper Kupp. So we see how people are reacting to that injury history in particular. And if we go and look at Saquon Barkley in New York, you don't have those same precautions. You are seeing drafters take Eckler over him, Diggs over him, Henry over him, Adams, Kelsey, Mixon, Lamb, Swift, Mike Evans, Mark Andrews, Aaron Jones, Deebo Samuel, Tyreek Hill is going over Saquon Barkley. Now, this is what we are looking at in terms of baking that injury risk into his price. The opportunity cost to take Christian McCaffrey is you have to pass on Justin Jefferson. The opportunity cost to take Saquon Barkley is you have to pass on T freaking Higgins. Okay? This is why when I'm inside the top 5 picks, hell, I'm willing to pass on Christian McCaffrey. I'm willing to go out of our way, grab Justin Jefferson. That way, when we come back around and we're on the clock at 2:10, instead of feeling the need to reach on a wide receiver and grab someone like T. Higgins, grab someone like A.J. Brown, I can take Saquon Barkley. And yes, I'm accepting some risk with that selection, but it's for the raw upside that we have seen from Saquon Barkley. Now, thank you for watching this video. I really hope you enjoyed it. I really hope you got something from it. If you have not done so already, please go down there, drop a like on the video, subscribe to the channel if you have not done so. And yeah, hope you have a great day, and I truly do appreciate you.